My dear, stop what you're doing there and come here. Yes, sit down just there. I wanted to talk to you. See, I was watching you just now, going about your chores, and I began thinking of how I'm both pleased and, proud of how much you've changed. And I thought it was about time I told you so. Shh, don't interrupt. You see, when I first brought you here, you fought so hard against your new life. Against me. You were a lot of trouble. More than once I thought perhaps I should simply devour your blood and, well, dispose of your carcass. Oh? You didn't know that? Oh, yes, you were troublesome. But through all of that, I saw that you had a keen intelligence, more than average even, and it had been my intent to acquire someone intelligent, but I've learned since then that I got even better than I'd hoped for. Oh, don't let it go to your head. You knew you were smart to begin with, didn't you? And that smugness, it never looks pretty. Don't ever let that become a part of your character. Yes, good. But I digress. You see, servants I've had before, but seldom were they worthy of entrusting with more than simple menial tasks. If they'd ever had any intelligence or creativity, someone had smashed it while breaking them into their new life. Or, more likely, they were simply taken from the human population because they had no real talents and, well, were rather dim-witted and easily programmed. After those disappointments, I chose to live without servants, alone. Oh, no, I enjoyed being by myself. Most vampires do. I did too, for a very long time. And the memory of those past disappointments kept me thinking that I was much better off alone after all. What changed my mind? I do not have an answer for that. At least not one I'd feel comfortable talking about right now. Oh, no, there's no need to be sorry for asking. I've always tried to answer your questions, to satisfy your curiosity. And one day I will tell you about it. I promise. Oh, yes, you have learned to be patient. Or perhaps that was always in you, whenever you knew it would eventually earn its reward. But for now, I'll only say that, for reasons of my own, I decided, well, I would like some company again. But what I wanted was far from the mediocre competence my kind tends to settle for. I wanted someone with intelligence, not spoiled by heavy-handed conditioning. It wasn't possible to repair another easily acquired but crippled creature. No, I'd have to do the selection and training myself. So I went hunting for a wild human. Oh, yes, you were dirty, but you also were wild. By wild, I mean a human from outside my community. No, trust me, it's not an insult. But it wasn't as easy as hunting for a feeding. I couldn't simply take the first one I could find. I had to observe and compare among what I had found. And I also had to choose the traits I would place the most value on. No, you didn't look like much. Not at first, anyway. But you were orphaned, and that was an intentionally chosen parameter, and a plus. And you were miserable, living in a trash can. Well then, what is a dumpster except an overgrown trash can, Right, a big trash can. Imagine how much longer you might have fought me if your previous life had been, well, safe and pleasant. There were several others I observed before you, but you seemed to be the most miserable and rather angry. You don't see how anger was a plus. No, perhaps not. Since you didn't see the other candidates, well, some of those were angry too, but they were simply angry because they didn't have a better life. Your anger, on the other hand, when I listened to you, it was different. Instead of for merely being cold or hungry, I heard an angry desire to prove yourself. I heard ambition. That seemed to me to be the right stuff to work with. Yes, I decided to give you your opportunity, but you didn't, no, you couldn't understand. You even thought you wanted to escape me and return to that misery. But, to be fair, you didn't really know what I intended to do to you, did you? And you were afraid to believe anything I told you. Not unwise of you, of course. After all, you'd learned what I am. You knew death was a possibility, and, well, naturally, you wanted to live. And I think that was the spark I was looking for. In spite of all that life had already dumped on you, you wanted to live. Oh, yes, I know. You couldn't understand the situation. I had anticipated that. But you even thought it was possible to resist me. But that was merely ignorance. What you didn't know was how I could have bent your mind and broken you in your sleep. And no human can resist sleeping. Not forever, anyway. I could have done that to you. You almost seemed to want that, even. To be willing to be crushed before you'd give an inch. But I'd chosen to win you softly. I did know what the other methods would result in, after all. The only question was whether you'd let me. And whether you'd willingly choose to stay with me. Ah, yes, it took time. Yes, it did. But I knew my task wouldn't be easy or quick. But it was the only way that you could remain your own self with your memories and having all your feelings intact. Yes, I wanted a real human being, not just a frightened shadow of one. So, I was prepared to take the time and be patient with you. And I thought then that you'd be a much more interesting pet that way. Oh, well, yes, a pet. you didn't know you were going to be just a pet. You see, my perfect pet, my fantasy, was a human who submitted to me and stayed with me freely. Someone I would keep alive and care for and share many, many happy years. They would be someone bright and alert, someone I'd find interesting, someone who might even find me interesting. Oh, that was the original plan, but as I said before, I've gotten more than I expected. Yes, more than I expected, because you are not just a pet. Pets are amusing company, but you've proven to be just so much more than that. Much, much more. You see how I've been putting things into your hands and giving you responsibilities? Right. Would you think I would do that for a mere pet? There, see? I won't insult you by calling you my pet. Unless you want me to. As an endearment, of course. Shh. Don't interrupt. Honestly, this is a little difficult just for me to get through. Vampires don't usually praise their... We don't have... You are trustworthy, and you're competent. You may have noticed how, after you've been given a new task, I rarely inspect your performance. Now, if you're wondering just why that is, well, you've showed me that I don't have to, but I have been watching you closely, nevertheless. I've given you enough rope, as they say, to allow you to hang yourself, if you intended to betray me. Shh, hush. You needn't protest. I already know where your loyalties lie now. The word that was so hard to find. You see, vampires don't usually get to praise a companion, dare I say, a friend. That's why I hadn't told you before now of just how proud I am of you. And admittedly, I should have. I do hope you'll understand why I haven't done it up until now. Do you understand? Yes, I know. I know the sun will rise shortly, and I will retire. Don't worry about me, although I do like it when you do. But before I sleep, I must tell you something else. That I'm making some changes. This is the other reason I wanted to talk to you. For one, this time you'll not be shut away in your room as I sleep. Oh, you can go there if you like, of course. Or you can do whatever tasks you think need doing instead. That's right. You'll be on your own to watch over the household and over me. This will be your first time with so much responsibility, although there's likely to be little to do except be observant and wakeful. The daytime is your natural environment, so it should be quite easy. In the night, I shall protect you, as I have always done, for that is my natural environment. Hmm? What shall you do? Oh, just manage things as though I were awake, or as if the household were your own. Call for the authorities if a threat should appear outside, but, of course, they cannot under any circumstance be allowed to enter while I sleep. All right? Yes, good. Now, why haven't you asked the big question? Hmm? Oh, well, I'm referring to, well, whether or not you'll be locked inside, or whether you can get outdoors if you wanted. Hmm? Well, the answer, my dear, is that it will be possible for you to run. Although you know I'd find you before you saw another sunrise if you did. But I know you now. There's nothing out there that calls to you. Not anymore. Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. And yes, this is your home. I know you realize the significance of this new arrangement, and I know that you understand just how much trust I am placing in you. For a long time now, I've given you, as they say, a long leash. Now, I am taking the leash off. You've been a fine servant thus far. You've come to mean more to me than any pet or servant ever could. Now, if I'm honest, I want you to be my friend. Perhaps even more, in time. At least I would like that. So don't disappoint me. It would break my heart to have to kill you after all of this.